on this Monday night when the news delivers the deliverables. Cumberland Bulldogs beg for mercy. Wales invade Alaskan ice skating competition. And pirate takes 437 men to the cleaners. Atlas. Later tonight, we'll be interviewing a man who claims he can speak fluent dog. Those are the headlines. Don't touch that dial, because I'm not done with you yet.
Newsbang, unveiling the glories of yesterday's disasters today. 1916.
In a display of athletic brutality that would make the gladiators of ancient Rome blush, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets have mercilessly slaughtered the Cumberland College Bulldogs in what can only be described as a bloodbath masquerading as a football game.
Eyewitnesses report seeing Cumberland players fleeing the field in terror, while Georgia Tech's coach, John Heisman, was allegedly heard cackling maniacally on the sidelines. One horrified fan, Ethel Pimplebury, exclaimed, "I've never seen such carnage! They're not even bothering to use the ball anymore."
The Cumberland team, consisting of what appeared to be 14 malnourished street urchins and a bewildered janitor, stood no chance against Georgia Tech's well-oiled machine of destruction. Sources close to Cumberland's athletic department reveal that the team was hastily cobbled together mere hours before kickoff, with several players believing they had signed up for a knitting circle.
This massacre of sportsmanship has sparked outrage among the decent folk of America, with calls for Georgia Tech to be tried for war crimes. Meanwhile, Cumberland College has announced plans to disband not just their football program, but the entire institution, citing irreparable emotional damage and a sudden onset of yellow jacket phobia among the student body.
Dayton, 1988.
3 grey whales have been caught red-handed attempting to infiltrate Alaska's elite ice skating community. The marine mammals, now dubbed the Frozen Three, were discovered by local hunter Nanook Eagle Eye Iglulik, who initially mistook them for suspiciously fat penguins.
The whales, believed to be auditioning for Dancing on Ice Arctic Edition, found themselves trapped in what experts are calling nature's rink, a vast expanse of pack ice near Point Barrow.
International rescue efforts have been hampered by the whales' stubborn insistence on perfecting their triple axels before leaving. "We've offered them fish, we've offered them freedom, but all they want is a perfect 10 from the Russian judge," lamented rescue coordinator Blubber McFlippers.
The situation has sparked a diplomatic incident, with Greenpeace accusing the whales of blatant disregard for climate change by participating in ice-based activities. Meanwhile, the whales agent has reportedly secured them a lucrative deal for a new reality TV show, keeping up with the cetaceans.
1800.
The high seas have become a playground for maritime mischief as French privateer Robert Surcouf, known in pirate circles as the Ganges Menace, has captured the British East Indiaman Kent. The audacious heist occurred near the Ganges River, leaving the British Empire with its knickers in a twist.
Eyewitnesses report that Surcouf, armed with nothing but a baguette and a particularly pungent wheel of camembert, managed to overpower the Kent's 437-man crew. One sailor, who wishes to remain anonymous, stated, "It was chaos. He just kept shouting 'Vive la France' and pelting us with stale croissants."
The capture has sent shockwaves through the tea-sipping elite of London, with many questioning the effectiveness of their naval defences. Lord Fancypants of the East India Company was quoted as saying, "This is preposterous. How are we supposed to trade with the colonies if these French rapscallions keep nicking our boats?"
Maritime experts warn that this brazen act of privateering could lead to a full-scale baguette arms race on the high seas. The Admiralty has responded by deploying their secret weapon, a fleet of ships armed with Yorkshire puddings and an unlimited supply of tutting pensioners.
A news bang, clutching at truth like a cold-hearted grabber.
And now, for a forecast more chaotic than a ferret in a china shop, it's Shakanaka Giles.
Good evening, viewers. Down south, prepare for a right royal soaking. Rain coming down like stair rods, folks. It's going to be wetter than a vicar's tea party. Grab those wellies, your sou'westers, and maybe even a snorkel, just to be safe. Up north, it's colder than a witch's tit. We're talking temperatures that could turn your nose into an icicle. Best layer up like an onion, folks, and don't forget your long johns. Across the pond, in sunny Puerto Rico, it's all gone a bit pear-shaped. Torrential rain, landslides, the whole shebang. It's a proper meteorological melee over there. Those poor Puerto Ricans will be building arks out of coconuts. So, spare a thought for our friends across the Atlantic and maybe send them a telegram. And that's all the weather.
We've got a right swashbuckling showdown brewing in the Bay of Bengal. That French rapscallion Robert Surcouf has just seized the East Indiaman Kent. A ship so big it makes a galleon look like a dinghy. This 40-gun behemoth, manned by 437 souls, fell to Surcouf's cunning, sending shockwaves through the British East India Company and maritime circles alike. The capture not only disrupted trade, but also laid bare the vulnerabilities in Britain's naval supremacy. We go now to our man on the high seas, Brian Bastable, who's dodging cutlasses and cannonballs. Brian, what's the salty situation?
The salty spray of the Indian Ocean stings my eyes as I crouch on the blood-slicked deck of the East Indiaman Kent. Cannon fire echoes across the waves, punctuated by the screams of the dying and the clash of cutlasses. Just moments ago, the daring French privateer Robert Surcouf and his crew of 150 men launched a brazen assault on this 40-gun, 437-man behemoth. The audacity of it all. As the ships collided, Surcouf's men swarmed aboard like a plague of locusts, their faces twisted with the hunger for glory and prize money. The Kent's crew, caught off guard by the sheer ferocity of the attack, fought bravely but in vain. I watched as one unfortunate sailor was cleaved in twain by a well-aimed cutlass, his innards spilling onto the deck like a grotesque offering to Poseidon. The battle was brief but bloody, the screams of the wounded mingling with the triumphant cries of the French privateers. Surcouf himself led the charge, a whirlwind of steel and fury, cutting down any who dared stand in his way. Now, as the smoke clears and the Kent's colors are struck, the true cost of this audacious raid becomes apparent. The deck is awash with the blood and viscera of the fallen, a macabre tableau that speaks to the brutality of maritime warfare. For Surcouf and his men, the capture of the Kent represents a stunning victory, a blow struck against the mighty British East India Company. The valuable cargo and the ship itself will fill French coffers and fuel the ongoing war effort. But for the vanquished crew of the Kent, it is a bitter defeat, a reminder of the ever-present danger that lurks on the high seas. The wounded will be left to the mercy of the French, while the dead will be consigned to the depths, their final resting place, marked only by the circling sharks. As I stand amidst the carnage, the stench of death and gunpowder heavy in the air, I cannot help but marvel at the sheer audacity of Surcouf's attack. In the annals of naval history, this day will be remembered as a testament to the skill and daring of the French privateers and a blow to the pride of the British Empire. Brian Bastable, reporting from the blood-soaked deck of the East Indiaman Kent, somewhere off the coast of India.
Eldom, 2006.
And now, a grim reminder of the perils of journalism as we mark the anniversary of Russian reporter Anna Politkovskaya's assassination. On this day in 2006, the outspoken critic of the Chechen War and Putin's regime was silenced forever, gunned down in Moscow on the Russian president's birthday. The murder, a chilling message to those who dare speak truth to power, remains partially unsolved, with the mastermind still at large. 6 convictions, but justice remains elusive in a case that shook the foundations of press freedom. For more on this dark chapter in journalism, we go to our crime correspondent, Ken Schitt.
Good evening, you spineless sacks of shit. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into a cesspool of corruption and cowardice that would make even the devil himself vomit in disgust. October 7th, 2006, a day that'll live in infamy. Anna Politkovskaya, a journalist with more balls than the entire Kremlin combined, was gunned down like a dog in her own apartment building. 4 bullets, 1 to the head. A classic hit job, served up with a side of fuck you to freedom of speech. This wasn't just murder, folks. This was a goddamn execution of truth itself. Politkovskaya had the audacity, the sheer fucking gall, to report on human rights abuses and criticize the powers that be. And for what? So some trigger-happy bastards could play target practice in an elevator. The investigation, a joke that would make a hyena cry. 6 convictions, sure, but the mastermind's still out there, probably sipping vodka and laughing his ass off. It's a travesty that would make Lady Justice rip off her blindfold and gouge out her own eyes. But let me tell you something, you sniveling cowards hiding behind your badges and titles. Anna Politkovskaya's spirit lives on. Her words echo in the hearts of every journalist who dares to speak truth to power. And one day, mark my words, the truth will come out, and it'll hit you harder than a freight train full of karma. This is Ken Schitt, reminding you that in a world full of sheep, be a fucking lion. Good night, and go to hell.
1914.
In a stunning turn of events that has left the international community scratching its collective head, Japan has seized control of the German-held island of Pohnpei. This audacious move has sent ripples through the Pacific and left Germany wondering, what happened to our island? Japan's Pacific ambitions are becoming increasingly clear as they gobble up islands like a hungry sea monster devouring a buffet of tropical appetizers. For more on this developing story, we turn to our correspondent, Hardiman Pesto.
Martin, I'm here on the island of Pohnpei, which until recently was a peaceful German outpost. Now, it's a Japanese outpost. The locals seem somewhat bewildered by this sudden change of management.
Pesto, paint us a picture. What's happening on the ground?
Well, it's a bit of a cultural mashup, Martin. The Germans are packing their lederhosen and Oompa bands, while the Japanese are busy installing karaoke machines and teaching the locals how to make origami swans. I've managed to secure an interview with a local dignitary, Mr. Coconut. Head.
It's Nan-Moaki Soundpuok, the second, actually.
Right you are, Mr. Nutty Professor. So tell me, how do you feel about your new Japanese overlords?
We are deeply concerned about the implications for our cultural heritage and political autonomy.
Wonderful. Simply wonderful. Back to you, Martin.
Pesto, you can't just breeze through this. This is a major geopolitical event. Ask him about the Japanese motivations.
So, Mr. Souvenir Shop, any idea why the Japanese decided to pop in for a visit?
We believe their interest lies in our strategic location and valuable natural resources.
Ah, yes, the coconuts. Delicious. Back to you, Martin.
Pesto, coconuts are not a strategic resource. Ask him about the potential for conflict.
Mr. Conga Line, any chance of a tropical rumba breaking out between the Germans and the Japanese?
The situation is extremely volatile, and we fear an escalation of violence.
Splendid! A tropical war. Martin, I'm predicting a major uptick in sales of Hawaiian shirts and coconut bras.
Pesto, this is serious. People's lives are at stake. Get a grip.
Relax, Martin. I've got it all under control. I've even learned a few Japanese phrases. Konnichiwa, sayonara, sauerkraut. It's all going swimmingly. Back to you.
That was Hardiman Pesto, reporting from Pohnpei. where the line between journalism and performance art is increasingly blurred. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming before he starts a war.
1763.
And on this day in 1763, King George III issued a proclamation that would shake the very foundations of colonial America. In a move that can only be described as royal meddling of the highest order, His Majesty decreed that British settlers were forbidden from venturing west of the Appalachian Mountains. The proclamation, ostensibly to protect indigenous lands, has been met with outrage and confusion. One colonial farmer was heard exclaiming, "But what if I fancy a stroll beyond yonder ridge?" The repercussions of this royal edict are still unfolding. For more on this story, we cross to our American correspondent, Melody Wintergreen.
"1763, the Appalachian frontier. Melody Wintergreen here, where the trees whisper tales of rebellion and the mountains stand as silent witnesses to a royal decree gone wrong." King George III, in his infinite wisdom, has just forbidden British settlers from crossing the Appalachians. He says it's to protect Native American lands. The colonists say it's a load of royal codswallop. They're eyeing that western territory like a hungry wolf eyes a plump rabbit. Fast forward to today, and that same land is still a battleground. Developers are drooling over the prospect of paving paradise and putting up a parking lot. But the indigenous peoples who call this land home, they're not going anywhere. The Iroquois, the Shawnee, the Cherokee, they remember King George's promise, and they're holding him to it. It's a showdown centuries in the making. The ghosts of colonial past are stirring, and the echoes of broken treaties hang heavy in the air. Will history repeat itself? Will the colonists once again defy the crown and march westward? Manifest destiny on their minds and dollar signs in their eyes? The Royal Proclamation of 1763, a forgotten footnote in history books. Think again. It's a reminder that the land remembers, and the fight for it is never truly over. Melody Wintergreen, Newsbang, reporting from the Appalachian frontier, where the past is present and the future is uncertain.
Newsbang, an affront to all who love the fabrication of untruths. 1916.
And now, for a sports report that's more lopsided than a scrum in a hurricane, it's Ryder Boff. Ryder, what sporting spectacle has caught your discerning eye?
Well, hello there, sports fans. Ryder Boff here, with a tale from the gridiron that's more unbelievable than a vegetarian winning a sausage-eating contest. We're going back to 1916, where Georgia Tech, led by that gridiron guru John Heisman, just gave Cumberland University a right royal thrashing. Oh my giddy aunt, Georgia Tech are scoring faster than a ferret down a trouser leg. Those Cumberland lads are looking like they've wandered into the wrong stadium. Their coach, poor chap, is the colour of a week-old kipper. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts reciting Shakespeare in a desperate attempt to make this massacre seem a bit more intellectual. This is getting brutal, folks. Reminds me of that time I challenged Jimmy Tarbuck to a round of golf. The man was weeping by the 9th hole. It was a bloodbath, ladies and gentlemen, a proper sporting drubbing. The Cumberland Bulldogs, a ragtag bunch of lads who looked like they'd rather be sipping tea and eating cucumber sandwiches, were up against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, a team that resembled a pack of hungry wolves with a taste for pigskin. And speaking of pigskin, that ball was flying through the air like a rocket-powered pigeon. Slippery Sam sidearm with another touchdown pass. The lad's got an arm like a howitzer. The Cumberland defence is about as effective as a chocolate fireguard. It's embarrassing to watch, folks, like seeing a vicar fall out of a pulpit. Cumberland's star player, bless him, was a chap named Wobbly Wally Fumblefingers. The lad couldn't catch a cold, let alone a football. Every time that pigskin came his way, it bounced off his fingers like a rubber chicken on a trampoline. painful to watch. Oh dear, Fumblefingers has fumbled again. The lad's a walking disaster zone. He's dropped more passes than I have pints after a particularly heavy night out. The Georgia Tech players are circling him like sharks around a wounded tuna. This is carnage, folks. Carnage.
The final score, a mind-boggling 222-0. Cumberland's coach was last seen booking a one-way ticket to Timbuktu, muttering something about early retirement and taking up knitting. And who can blame him? This is Ryder Boff, signing off.
And now, for an environmental report that's more heartwarming than a baby seal cuddling a penguin, it's Penelope Windchime. Penelope, what eco-triumphs have you unearthed?
Oh, the wonder. Tonight, viewers, we celebrate a heartwarming tale of interspecies cooperation and cetacean liberation. In 1988, 3 magnificent grey whales, each as big as a small bungalow, found themselves trapped in the icy clutches of the Arctic Ocean near Point Barrow, Alaska. Imagine their plight, viewers. These gentle giants, these majestic marvels of the marine world, unable to break free from the frozen grip of winter. It's enough to make a mermaid weep. But fear not. A heroic Inupiat hunter, his heart as big as a whale's blubber, spotted their predicament. News spread faster than a rumour in a knitting circle, and soon rescuers from around the globe were converging on the scene. Armed with chainsaws, icebreakers, and hairdryers? Yes, viewers, hairdryers. They melted that ice with a passion, those brave souls, battling blizzards, frostbite, and possibly the odd polar bear, all to free those trapped whales. It was a scene straight out of a Disney movie, except with more frostbite and fewer singing chipmunks. This has been Penelope Windchime, reminding you that hope floats. Even in the face of adversity, even in the coldest, most unforgiving corners of our planet, compassion can triumph. Embrace the whales, melt the ice, and for the love of all that is green and good, never ever use a hairdryer on a polar bear.
2008.
And now, for a report on Britain's triumph in asteroid detection, we turn to our science correspondent, Calamity Prendeville, who's currently orbiting the Earth in a tin can.
Good evening, science enthusiasts. Today marks the anniversary of a truly British triumph in the field of asteroid detection and destruction. On this day, in 2008, our very own Asteroid Annihilation Agency, or AAA, successfully predicted and observed the explosion of the asteroid 2008 TC3 over the Nubian Desert in Sudan.
Using cutting-edge technology developed in a shed in Cleethorpes, AAA's chief asteroid spotter, Nigel Pebbleworth, detected this space invader a whopping 19 hours before impact. Armed with nothing but a pair of NHS spectacles, a protractor, and a Sinclair ZX81, Nigel calculated the precise trajectory of the 4.1-metre rock hurtling towards Earth.
The asteroid, affectionately nicknamed Rocky, entered our atmosphere at a blistering speed of 12.4 kilometres, putting on a dazzling fireworks display that outshone even the most extravagant bonfire night celebrations. As it exploded, it scattered space souvenirs across the desert, much to the delight of local rock enthusiasts.
This groundbreaking event has revolutionised our approach to planetary defence. The British government has since invested heavily in asteroid detection, with plans to equip every household with a state-of-the-art skyward-pointing colander by 2025.
So next time you look up at the night sky, remember, thanks to British ingenuity, we're now one step closer to winning the cosmic game of celestial dodgeball. This is Calamity Prendeville reminding you to keep watching the skies and Newsbang.
My Newsbang, turning propaganda into popcorn with a healthy sprinkle of truth.
And now, for a royal romp through history, we turn to our correspondent, Sandy O'Shaughnessy, who brings us a tale of vultures, arrests, and regal send-offs from 19th century Myanmar. Sandy, what peculiar events unfolded at the funeral of Burma's penultimate king?
Nice and easy.
Well, hello there, my dear listeners. This is Sandy O'Shaughnessy, coming to you live from the cosy confines of Newsbang Towers. A hearty hello, and welcome to all of you, tuning in on this crisp October evening. And to those who've just joined us after Martin Bang's riveting news update, well, hello again. Now, let's take a wee jaunt back in time, shall we? Picture this. It's 1878 and over in the exotic land of Myanmar. They're having themselves a right royal send-off, the state funeral of Min Don Min, the penultimate king of Burma, is in full swing. But oh, what a peculiar affair it was. You see, dear listeners, poor old Mindon's death was preceded by some rather strange omens. Vultures on the palace roof, they say. It's enough to put you off your morning porridge, isn't it? I'm reminded of the time my Aunt Petunia swore she saw a leprechaun doing the Macarena on her clothesline. Turned out, it was just old Mr. O'Malley after a few too many pints. But I digress. Now, here's the kicker. All of Mindon's senior princes were unable to attend the funeral. Why, you ask? Well, they'd all been arrested. It's like something straight out of a soap opera, isn't it? Makes the family squabbles on Dallas look like a teddy bear's picnic. I received a letter just this morning from Seamus in Galway. He writes, "Dear Sandy, I've been having trouble with my neighbours. They keep leaving mysterious packages on my doorstep. Should I be worried?" Well, Seamus, unless those packages contain vultures or arrested princes, I'd say you're probably all right. Though maybe check if Mr. O'Malley's been doing the Macarena nearby, just to be safe. You know, all this talk of royal intrigue reminds me of the time I accidentally wore my crown to the local chip shop. The looks I got. But that's a story for another day. As we wrap up this regal romp through history, remember, dear listeners, whether you're a king, a commoner, or somewhere in between, life's too short for dull moments. So keep those letters coming, and until next time, this is Sandy O'Shaughnessy saying, see you later, alligator, in a while, crocodile.
All over the country for everyone.
Newsbang, the ethical embezzler of information, returning truth to the bank of facts.
And finally, let's have a look at tomorrow's papers.
The Times lead with Yank Corporal goes on German gun spree. There's a photo there of the man in question. The Independent opt for Oslo's new airport now open for business. I see they've included a map of the airport's location. The Mail go, with America ablaze. 5 big fires wreak havoc. There's a dramatic picture of a burning building. The Express have Chicago in flames, city's worst fire in history. I noticed they've included an Eyewitness account. And that's it. Newsbang will be back tomorrow with more news, views, and possibly some good news. Until then, good night.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. Newsbang is a comedy show, written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.